Does not appear you're ready.
Just a strong sip of tequila to get me started.
Love it.
No, I wish.
Herbal tea over here.
I got some of that too.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I will be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing The Exorcist Believer. Is there a "the" in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ariel is shaking her head.
Correct.
Yes, awesome. Joining me tonight, first up from Bucolic, Indiana. Please welcome Casey to the show.
Hello.
Next up from Manhattan, New York City, our beloved East Coast elitist. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Hi, Eric. Hi, how are you? I was gonna try to come up with something about it being elite, but it's too early / late.
Too early / late.
It's something.
And lastly tonight, please welcome back from the Pacific Northwest. Please welcome Ariel to the show.
Hello.
I don't think you were here that week, Ariel, but Rachel yelled at me for not saying that Indiana was bucolic for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to spread that around. My favorite word. There is this one scene in this movie that I don't know if I've ever been as excited to describe something in the history of the show, and I cannot wait. So let's do it. Mm-hmm. Let's take a quick break and dive into The Exorcist Believer.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the front time. Main feature.
John, you ever feel like Blumhouse there is just getting a little too big for his britches? You ever feel like he made Halloween 2018 and it was so successful that he was like, "Oh, dude, I got this." Like,
I mean, that 100% happened.
How many other old horror ladies we got? Let's get this train rolling.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to get too deep into it at this exact moment, but like, the run is still very strong. Like, if you go through like they did Megan, it's like
they did have Megan this year. You are correct in that.
It's sort of like they're the only ones making horror movies at a certain level with any
not anymore,
consistency.
John. A24.
Sure. Yes.
Did you see A24 acquired the Halloween rights?
I did not see. I think one of you may have mentioned it to me.
I've heard different variations on that because I don't remember the other studio, but I heard one studio got movie rights and A24 may have gotten TV rights or vice versa.
Somebody said that A24 was a television thing.
Yeah.
Casey, you also know that I don't check sources, so. Yeah.
I
John,
have one specific moment of dialogue from this film that I was so excited to talk about back on Sunday when I saw the movie, and now I'm just like, I don't know, like fucking who knows with this, but let's play the who can guess that what it is later. We don't have to do it right now, but
I can tell you, I won't, but I can tell you exactly what it is because Twitter's been talking about it since this movie came out.
It's easily one of the worst pieces of dialogue in a film in like
would it perchance
years.
happen in like the first 5 minutes that a specific character is on screen?
No. Actually, I don't think we're talking about the same piece. So
wow. Okay. Well, I can't wait. Okay. Well, let's get into it. John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, I was a little worried that I had used this word before, but I don't think I have. And that word is credulous.
Ah.
Credulous. That's CREDULOUS, credulous. Having or showing too great a readiness to believe things.
That's really good, John. I'm not even going to make fun of you. That's really good.
Thanks, man. Credulous
comes to me in a good mood today.
It comes to us from the Latin credulous. Basically
Naturally.
the exact same word without an O in it at
Just
the
with
end.
a cool accent.
Yeah, it means that easily believes, trustful. And I don't know, Google says 1570 is like a rough, that's a very specific, it must be like a specific citation in a book or something. But
That was a rough time, rough period there.
the 16th
1570.
century, yeah. it
Not
was
going
tough.
great for people.
Yeah, no.
John, tell me about The Exorcist Believer, directed by one Mr. David Gordon Green. Somebody reminded me today that he did Pineapple
Horror
Express.
savior.
really?
He's done other good movies. Like he's done movies that are not.
And I'll say this.
Complete
I'll use the
garbage.
opportunity to say this again, that he's always confusing to me because his working partner is Danny McBride, and he looks just like that dude that was in Eastbound and Down. That was like Danny McBride's sidekick. So when he came on the scene, I fully thought
Kenny?
it was
Not
Kenny.
Kenny. What's no?
I fully
Kenny
something like
Pat. I can't remember. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I don't remember the guy's name, but I thought it was him in the beginning when
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, this guy's directing Halloween." Which, if you've seen that show, is hilarious. But
Yeah. No, it's good. All right.
Tell me
So,
about
directed David Gordon Green, also co-written with Peter Sattler. There's a couple other folks, and we had talked about this a while back. There's a guy, Scott Teems, who is listed as story by, same as Danny McBride is also story by. Scott Teems did the story. He's also gets a credit on Halloween Kills. He gets a credit on Firestarter, and then Insidious: The Red Door.
oh my good God, I
Yikes,
need to
that's not a
take
good
second
track
after
record.
that.
I don't understand. Like, there's a lot of people that could come up with stories, and like this guy's continuing to get shots at it. I don't know. So in any event, based on characters by William Peter Blatty. You remember that? There was a novel here.
Blatty? I don't think there's an Alan.
Blatty. He
You
yeah,
know
there was
me,
a
John. I'm
novel.
a big reader.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure
I
it was
mean,
correct.
I don't like we don't.
That,
need
he
to
was
get
the
into
author, right?
Yeah.
And then Friedkin directed.
Friedkin directed the film. Yeah, I mean, I don't like. We don't need to do too much on the original Exorcist. I'm curious, when was the last time anyone watched the original Exorcist? Because it's been a long time for me. Actually.
It's
few
probably
years.
been 20 years ago.
Probably just a few years for me. Like, here's the thing: when I had cable, if that movie was on, I was probably gonna like tune in.
Fair.
But I haven't in a long time, so it's not
Ariel,
like a
have you-
feel-good movie that I want to.
yeah,
pop
I
on.
hadn't. I've seen it a bunch of times over the years, but I hadn't seen it in at least a decade. So I put it on before we started recording. Unfortunately,
Big mistake.
I missed out on the last 10 minutes because then I got the email.
Not before you saw Believer, though. That's what I meant. Like, if you had done it
No,
before
not
Believer,
before
that probably
Believer.
wouldn't have been great.
So yeah, this film, we have David Gordon Green and producing partner Danny McBride working with Blumhouse, basically trying to run a very similar playbook that they did with Halloween, which is to say, we are picking up the Exorcist storyline 40 years into the future from what was the date? 67 or what was it, 70?
73,
71?
I think.
70. Okay, all right. I could have looked that up, but I didn't. So yeah, exactly 40 years later. Well, no, the movie starts like 38 years later because we find the main character or one of the primary characters is a guy. He's on vacation with his wife. He's a photographer at the time ish or something like that. She's a photographer. They're doing photography things. They're on vacation. They're in Haiti.
Pictures.
They are there, and this all happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie, but she's pregnant, and they are there during the sort of like really terrible Haiti earthquake. And so they sort of live through that. We actually, pretty intense earthquake scene, which you don't get that on film frequently. The wife is killed, and there's actually like a pretty rough scene where the dad is in this hospital in Haiti, and it's being explained to him that he has to pick, does he want to save the baby or does he want to save his wife? Because the doctor says they can't save both of them. She's very gravely injured. There's like a chance they can save her, but they won't be able to save the baby, and then, yada, yada. And so then we cut to the, effectively present day. He's living with now, I believe, a 13-year-old daughter. The wife is gone. And they're just like making their way, it's like father and daughter just trying to get by. She's a teen. She's doing teen things. She does one of those things where you like tell your parents you're going one place, and your friend tells their parent they're going somewhere else.
Classic, John.
It's a great.
That was
setup.
my move. Yeah,
It's a great setup, and they go to do a sort of like commune with the spirits in a spooky place. It was like an old graveyard that was defunct, or
something like that.
Yeah, they're in like
spooky place.
It's like a crypt though. Like there's an actual
Yeah.
sort of like waterlogged crypt thing that they're in, and they're doing this thing with this thing with a candle, and they do the thing with the candle, and then like cut to black. We now are back with the parents. The parents haven't seen the kids. They're sort of like looking for the kids. There's 3 days of them not being able to find the kids. Kids show back up, but the kids think they've only been gone minutes or hour. Like they think they basically like blacked out / went to sleep and are like waking up, and it's like
I did like that
no
scene
time
when the
has passed.
investigator was like, "Tell him how long you think you've been missing." It was like so dramatic.
And so that's basically the setup. Spoiler alert, they're possessed now. They have possession.
Wouldn't it be awesome
And
if they just like
They have
recovered
the
and were fine?
possession.
Like if they just recovered and were fine, nothing happened. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, it was just like, it was scary, but it worked out for the best. I mean, that's the setup, right? Like, the rest of this is you literally anyone who's seen a horror movie in the last 25 years could write the rest of this movie from there. To the extent there are things that are interesting going on that are worth talking about, I would say it's primarily driven by the fact that you've got 2 girls, which means you have 2 sets of parents, or like you've got it's a white girl and a black girl. We probably should have said that up front, but the white girl's parents, they like didn't know that the daughters were friends, and it's all there's like some like veiled racism type behavior going on the part of the white parents for sure. You've got the dad who's played by Leslie Odom, who's a like fun dude. I like Leslie.
I
Odom
know
Jr.
him. What do I know him from?
He's the original.
And isn't there a junior in there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Leslie Odom
Isn't he a
Jr.
junior? Yeah.
He was the original Aaron Burr in Hamilton the musical in the
That
original
doesn't-
cast.
Does not register for me.
No?
But
Okay.
I know I've seen him in something.
Yeah, I mean he's been. I mean I didn't look at his IMDb, but he's been in other stuff. He has a wonderful Christmas album. If you're looking for Christmas tunes
What?
to listen to with your children.
He's a singer?
Yeah. Well, he
Oh, I
was
had no
in the.
idea.
He was in
Yeah,
Hamilton.
he was in the Hamilton recording.
Yeah,
cast.
was
I
thinking of
gotcha.
the Christmas album.
That makes
That's
sense.
cool.
The Christmas album's great. Would recommend. In any event, so he's got his whole own thing because like he's a single parent. He's wrestling like he's unresolved grief after 13 years, what have you. But yeah, I mean that's the setup. The other, I guess, important character to mention is Ann Dowd, who I think her name in the movie is Anne as well. At least that's like she also
You
has
know
like a
this
different
person?
name.
Yeah.
She's like
You're talking about the
Yes.
nurse?
fairly famous, I
Ann
would
Dowd?
say.
Yeah, she's a
Yeah,
pretty
you might
great
know her
actress.
from Hereditary.
Correct.
Oh, she's a friend.
Yeah, she's like the mom's
Oh, I'm
friend.
was friends with your mom. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not pull that. That's interesting.
She is typically playing the like creepy lady character. That is sort of like her specialty. Here, she's playing the former initiate, I believe they're called, the people who like are going into
Yeah.
becoming a nun, but she never completed that process, and so rather than be a nun, she is now a nurse, and she's like the neighbor of Leslie Odom, who like also it like in the beginning seems to kind of there's like some veiled racism potentially going on there, like because she's like policing the way he won't bring in his trash cans or something. I don't like. It was I don't know. There was weirdness. But
It's kind of like they put it in there, but it's not a huge focus, but it's in there.
well, and then
Yeah.
they like become. Then she's like their best friend. Like she's like the most important part of the fucking movie at a certain point. I don't know. I'm gonna stop there, and then we can work our way toward the end.
a
Because
great
Eric, I
place
know
to
there's
stop.
some scenes that you really would like to highlight.
If anyone, I'm just gonna say this: the eye scene, that's mine. Please let me have it. All right, Casey,
Yes, sir.
do you like the original Exorcist?
Yeah, I love the
Have you seen
original
any of the
Exorcist.
sequels?
I think I've seen at least the second, maybe the third, but
Oh,
there we go.
The third one's
you're back.
excellent.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
So
okay.
it's been quite a while.
What do you think of this one?
This one, I got mixed feelings on this movie because I think as an exorcism movie, not T, I think it's passable and totally serviceable as an exorcism movie. We've seen a lot worse exorcism movies for this show. We've talked about them on here before. This is, isn't bad in that regards. But then when you look at this as a sequel to The Exorcist, and it really falls apart. It doesn't feel anything like the original movie. It's lost all the heavy atmosphere. It's lost a lot of the tension and mystery. I think they really struggled taking it out of the dark and closed confined spaces of the original and open it up out and kind of like spread out across the town and stuff like that. It really kind of throws it off. More than anything, I just think it doesn't fit well as an Exorcist sequel. And there's a lot of little things that doesn't feel very deep. There's not. It kind of feels like all the freaky demon stuff, possession stuff we have seen in the trailer, too. And there wasn't a whole lot outside of that, so not a whole lot of surprise.
Ariel.
Oh boy. I didn't love this movie, but honestly, I think that Casey's right in that a lot of people I saw talking about it online were saying just how horrible this movie is.
Oh, they helped me a lot.
Yeah.
This is why, but John didn't have that. That's why I'm fascinated to hear.
Yeah. So I don't think this movie is quite as terrible as some people are making out to be. It's just that when you compare it to the original Exorcist, like it just doesn't hold a candle. I personally hated Halloween Kills. Like that movie made me so angry when I saw it. So I had like basement level expectations for this one. And because of that, I think I was helped out a little bit. And yet I was still like weirdly disappointed because I was feeling like okay through the first half of it, but I think it really falls apart in the end. I think that, like Casey was saying, there is zero tension and atmosphere in this movie, but I honestly think one of the biggest flaws about it is that you don't give a shit about any of the characters, really. Like, not a single one. And people die in this movie, and I normally care about that. Like, I'll cry in movies, and this one did not pull at my heartstrings at all.
You
Like,
really
it
don't,
didn't
and
matter.
that is such the core of why the first film is so scary. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you care so much about Ellen Burstyn's character. You care so much about Reagan. You care so much about the priest, too, Father Karras. They really make you care about that. And here I just don't feel like they accomplish that. And even with, like, Leslie Odom Jr., who is a really good actor, and he is doing his best, I just don't think the dialogue is written well enough. The scenes are written well enough. And Ann Dowd and Ellen Burstyn both, like, they're all way too good to be in this film, frankly. I mean, I would say I think that you could do something interesting with the idea of like combining different religious traditions in the form of an exorcism. I just don't think they accomplished that here. It just was a letdown in the end.
They definitely did not accomplish it.
No, that's a good point. And then I would
that's
just say
amazing.
like my take on it, like to sum it up, is The Pope's Exorcist was a better movie.
Like,
I'm not going to fight you on that.
Yeah.
I would say much, much better. I mean,
Yeah.
It definitely comes together better as like a fully baked thing. Yeah.
And it's more fun, you know?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Go ahead, John. I see you chomping at
mean-
the bit over there.
well, all right. What I would say is I hadn't even necessarily considered the point that Casey made until he said it. And now having heard it, he's not wrong. And I mean, sort of,
Okay, I just have to point out that Casey had to reboot, so he's fully missing everybody agreeing with him. For like the
I
first
know,
time.
poor guy.
yeah. No, and I mean, but well, hold on. So what I'm saying is, if you are just like evaluating this in a vacuum as like
Right.
a movie about exorcisms, it's like fine to kind of bad.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
context of it being an Exorcist sort of reboot, whatever, it's truly like offensive, I would say. and so like, okay, going back, like on its own terms, or like putting aside the Exorcist stuff, because we were talking a little bit about it pre-show. Like I really like that film. I've probably seen it 4 or 5 times, but not in at least 10 years. And I'm not like the kind of person who like knows the beats and like knows it's also not a film like Halloween that's been dissected and digested culturally in the same way. I mean, there are moments from that original Exorcist film that are sort of like salient to the present time, but like most people walking around the street like don't they like don't know what the Exorcist is other than like pea soup throw up or whatever, whatever it was. This movie, I would say the script is like an abomination. It
is a weird movie in that everybody knows of it, but yeah, like the average person walking around who might go see this, like they're gonna need some context to what they're seeing.
Well,
because
but
it's
like,
such
do
an old
they
film.
like? It has the parts of this movie that are tied to the original Exorcist are some of the worst parts of the movie. Like them shoehorning Ellen Burstyn back in, having her be this person who spent her life since post Reagan, like studying all of the different cultural expressions of exorcism. Like, it was so ludicrous to me. It's like, what is the fucking point of this? And then I know I'm not going to step on the scene that Eric wants to get into, but she just like wanders into this movie, is like dispatched aggressively, and then delivers what is easily the worst line of dialogue. But after the scene Eric wants to talk about.
Oh, okay, we'll get to it. I thought you were going to call out her line about the patriarchy, because that's what everybody's been roasting this movie for.
It's so lame.
To me, the lamer one was when I think it's Leslie Odom goes to see her after her injury, and she's like, every cultural whatever, like every religion has an exorcism ceremony, and they're all different in different ways, but you know what they all have? Do you remember what she says?
No, what did she say?
Like togetherness or something? Oh, people. Yeah, that's right. That's like what? As opposed to what? Animals? Aliens? What are you talking about?
It's the dumbest fucking thing. I literally almost like spit taked on it, like while we were saying.
It's like, you know what that is? That's a Michael Scott line.
It's
the demons are made of people.
Yeah.
Oh
I was so at that point. You're like so deep in it because it comes pretty late in the movie. And I just sort of sighed. I was
I mean,
I
think that's the thing that made me angry about this one too. Like the more I sat with it, is because in Halloween Kills, the thing that pissed me off so much was them sidelining Jamie Lee Curtis to have her sit in a hospital bed, and they basically brought Ellen Burstyn back to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Literally. Yeah. So Casey, you are gone. I just would like to point out that both John and Ariel agreed with a bunch of points you made, and I was like, of course, Casey's not here to hear it.
You missed out.
I want to give you your props. I'm pretty on board. I'm really, I think, pretty closely aligned with Casey. I mean, I would go so far as to say that just the theory that you could make an Exorcist sequel in 2023 is not a valid one. And so like you're really doing something that you just got no shot at winning, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the few other movies that I would consider in that same realm is probably The Shining. Except the difference is that like The Shining was based on a Stephen King book and he wrote his own sequel to it. So like maybe there are Exorcist sequels, I don't know. But
they did do two sequels, at least.
But I mean book. I mean the book. I don't know if there were extra books. But like I just think it's a fool's errand to try to do this in the first place. So I'm not taking it very seriously going in. I go in feeling like not super hot on David Gordon Green after the last 2 Halloween movies. Like my boy really let me down here. But this is what I'll say, like, and to be the world's most unenthusiastic devil's advocate, the first hour of this movie, which is basically everything up until Ellen Burstyn walks on the scene, totally serviceable. Leslie Odom Jr., to your point, Ariel, acting his ass off. He does not have a lot to work with, but he just is like, he's really good at showing emotion and being empathetic. Like, I think, it's a little cheap, this stuff with him and his daughter, right? Like, because that's part of the rub of remaking The Exorcist. Like, first of all, there have been 10 zillion exorcism movies between now and then. So there is nothing you are going to bring to that scene because there's got to be the scene. There's nothing you can bring to that that's going to like really wow an audience. So you look at the original and you go like, okay, well, why is this so impactful? It was 1976. It was shocking to people. Okay, well, you can't really shock people nowadays. It also has this emotional core that they spend like 90 minutes almost building up between the mother and daughter, and they do try to do that here. Obviously not as successful. The problem is like, what was I going to say? Like, the second Ellen Burstyn comes on the screen, and she is obviously like an amazing actor. You know, I don't know how old she is now. She's got to be in her 80s, right?
At least, I don't know.
90s. So she in her let's not forget, like in her 60s or 70s, she was in Requiem for a Dream and won an Oscar. Like I think
she's
won.
90 actually right now.
Yeah. So she was probably, she was like 70 when she was in Requiem for a Dream, or a little younger. Gave an incredible performance. Like she still got it. But the second she walks on screen, it's like you can feel a producer somewhere with two scripts, one in each hand, and just trying to mash them, like physically mash them together. It feels like it is such a hard turn. Her dialogue is so bad right out of the gate. And then okay. All right. So Ellen Burstyn has just entered the movie, right?
He's like getting his
gearing up.
She has been, our main character, Leslie Odom Jr., has been sent to Ellen Burstyn as a person that has experienced this before. That whole conversation is very awkward, like, because she has to, they felt the need to have the character point out, like, well, I didn't actually like see the exorcism, which is true. Like, she's not really in the room for most of that, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny. It feels a little self-conscious that they felt like they had to, like, do you need to point that out? 2 scenes later. Okay. So she visits, Leslie Odom's daughter, I believe, in the hospital, right? Then she goes to the house with the other girl, and that's a more traditional, like, I think she's just like in her room or something, right? This is the house of like the white people she goes to, right?
Yes, because they took their daughter out of the hospital. They like refused to let her be institutionalized.
While some stuff is going on downstairs, she like breaks off from the pack and wanders by herself upstairs. Like she's gone through this before, John. Like, you don't just no priest, like, let's just go see what's doing here. Very brave. Okay, let's say that. Within 5 seconds of entering this room, she has both of her, I can't even say it. She has both of her eyes fucking gouged out with a crucifix.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like we just saw a new Saw movie last week. It was like a scene out of Saw. I did the Casey. I burst out laughing because it was just so ridiculous. We cut to a scene, she's in the hospital, and she literally looks like Neo from the third Matrix movie after his eyes get burned out. And she's like, but other than the eyes, she seems fine. Like,
the idea that she
advice.
would have survived that, like, you take a 90-year-old off the street and stab both her eyes out, like, I don't think they're making it. That's
John,
a guess.
you know what's behind your eyes?
Yeah, I have a guess. Is it your brain? Your brain's back there somewhere. It was a long crucifix.
Yeah.
She basically got a double lobotomy with a crucifix. And not only is she not like in a coma, but she's lucid and giving advice.
Yeah.
And this is at the point in the movie, John, this is the analogy I would like to invoke for this point of the movie. Do you remember the Dream Team?
The basketball Dream Team?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
The Dream Team, of course, John, the famous American Olympic team that was made for the first time ever, was made up of like just at the like zenith of NBA history, just like literally the 10 best players of all time. Right? So in this scenario, Ellen Burstyn is like Phil Jackson, okay? And her theory is that what we need to do is bring together a bunch of people from all different religions. Really, in reality, what's happening is that they knew they were never going to find a single actor with as much just insane charisma as Max von Sydow from the original.
Yep.
And so instead, they're like, what if we just like threw 8 people at this bad boy and like
Spread it around a little.
Everyone's like a Street Fighter character. Everyone's just like a stereotype of some kind of religious person that's got their own weird voodoo shit or whatever. And like, so this is what it is. So we put together the Dream Team. If the Dream Team was a team full of people with questionable skills that nobody actually knew. Okay.
Yeah.
And this literally leads to a scene with like
And
us-
very few of them have any backstory. Like they're just people
Yeah.
that show up that day.
That's what I mean by Street Fighter. It's like they've just got some kind of outfit on that makes you go like, oh, okay, that's a sumo wrestler guy. I get it. Like his stage is the bathhouse, you know?
Yeah.
It is ridiculous, and it leads to the scene at the end where like they're in a circle, everybody's in their uniform, and like the camera's panning around, and I'm just like, what the fuck is happening?
I
It
like
is-
your
it is-
I like
Go
I like
ahead.
your definition better, but
Thank you.
my brain jumped to a coexist bumper sticker.
Yeah, fully. Like if
So
you think each
true.
one of those symbols, they've got that person in this movie.
Well, so this
Like it
this
is just my last thing, and I'll just say,
Yeah.
it is hard to overstate how hard this movie swings from the first hour to whatever
Yeah.
the hell is going on in the second hour. It feels so crazily like two scripts. I know I say that all the time, but it's just so transparent. And like, I don't even, I'm going to give my boy Green here a break. Like, I'm not sure it's his fault. Like with the stuff that made sense, I think he does a pretty decent job with it.
He wrote the script there.
Yeah.
He also wrote
They
the
need
script.
to stop
mean,
giving this man money.
Like
he's
eight people
not
wrote
good at
the
this.
wrote the script, John, and you know Blum took a pass at it, and like you know,
He's credited as screenwriter, so it's sort of like you don't get off any.
it's
part of
not.
this if you're
Listen,
him.
somebody, one of our questions, like I'll answer right now, is which is worse, this or Halloween Ends? Halloween Ends is fathoms worse than this movie, I would say.
Fathoms is a lot. I would say it is definitely that Halloween Ends is definitely worse. This is bad in a lot of the same ways in my mind. Like that's sort of the problem.
on.
Is like
Tell me
well,
about it.
all right. So one of my biggest problems with this, and we sort of have already touched on it, but there is like a fundamental lack of understanding of like why The Exorcist works to begin with. There's like a couple different themes that are important in the original Exorcist, and like again, I'm not an Exorcist expert, but like I remember these things from the last time I watched it 10, 15 years ago. There's a whole bit about like science versus religion, right? Like there's this when Reagan's going through the hospital, and that was like a different time, obviously technologically, and so you know, the Friedkin was able to like kind of play into that in specific like. There's that. You also had Catholicism as like a very specific institution within America, far more powerful and monolithic
Yes.
than it is
and
today.
part of the like cultural zeitgeist, and that was again like it shocked people because it was
Yeah.
so blasphemous, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And then I think, Casey, you sort of mentioned the way that film is shot and how it works visually is very, very different. Like all of
Yeah.
these, there's like so many different elements. None of them are present here. Like it's basically as if you could have given ChatGPT the script of like 10 random Exorcist movies or exorcism movies from the last decade, and it could have spit out something like equivalent.
We could
to
do a
this.
90-minute episode where you are just saying the names of exorcism movies that we've reviewed. Like there are so many.
But some of them are much better than this. Like they're much
Yeah.
much
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
But there
I do
are some
think-
that are much worse.
I will be honest, and maybe this is a me thing because like I'm not religious, and so there isn't. And we've talked about this on past episodes. Like there isn't a thing on its face of this thing that scares me at all. Which is not to say that I haven't liked some, but for me, it's a high bar. Like there's got to be something unique to it.
Well, so
Yeah.
just to like name one movie because I actually watched it recently. You all know I do not like go back and rewatch movies all that often. I rewatched
I know, John,
the
you're a
last.
creature I don't understand.
I rewatched The Last Exorcism.
It's incredible,
It's great.
and it holds up. Yes,
So good.
that's my one.
Because it has a perspective about what it's trying to do and say about American culture and about religion and about like filmmaking.
And it's not so like wide-eyed religiosity. It's like that's the whole point of that movie is that the main character's point of view is that he doesn't believe in it really and has lost his faith. And so like there's all this, they're playing with that idea.
All right, so here's a question coming back to this film. Who is the believer? The believer? Is it
The shitty racist people.
I was gonna say it down too as
Yeah.
the believer. I assume she's gonna be the character that comes back in subsequent films. Like if this is truly gonna be made a trilogy, I sort of assume she's meant to be the like, Father Karras, like sort of whatever, returning exorcism. Really quick, I did check while someone was, I think Eric, you were talking. Blatty directed Exorcist 3, which I knew somewhere in the back of my head.
That's why it's so good.
Right.
It is based on
It's okay.
It is based on a novel called Legion, which he did write and was a sequel to Exorcist. So like there's a thing there that someone could have worked with.
Yeah.
But
Okay. I saw it for the first time pretty recently,
Yeah,
and it was
me
on
too.
Joe Bob actually. There are like some really amazing scenes in that movie. I think it's like real shaggy. Like it feels a little bit like a Larry Cohen movie. Like there's so much New York City, or there's so much like whodunit, detective-y. Like it's just I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like one of my favorite genres that is not horror is a whodunit, so that
There
might
you
be why
go.
it works so well
and
for
then,
me.
but it was fascinating to learn too about like, so they brought the actor back who had played Father Karras, and he apparently was like a pretty hardcore alcohol problem, and so like part of the weirdness of it is like they had to work around him basically, because he was so
Right.
difficult
Oh,
to
I
work
remember
with.
that. Yeah.
That's just like some Joe Bob color to it.
yeah, I don't know. So like
Your point was that your point, John, was that Blatty directed 3.
well, and my point was like there was a base to build from that draws forward like The Exorcist, narrative. Like you were saying, like I don't know if I didn't know if there were sequel books either. There was, and Blatty
Well,
wrote it.
they don't mention Pazuzu in this, right? It's like not a thing.
No.
Yeah,
She
we
does
were-
say, "I know
Yeah.
your name." That's it.
Yeah, we were talking about that so in the Wikipedia page for this film, there is a reference to a specific demon. I have no idea if that was in the film
Yeah.
or not. I didn't.
They didn't make it clear.
No, they didn't. I thought maybe it was Pazuzu just because it did seem to know her, but it's not supposed to be, I guess.
That's the fundamental problem
Then
with
why
this
would
movie.
she say, "I know your name"?
Right?
Interesting.
Well, they're Legion, I guess. Maybe they're hiding.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think
They-
either way, though, I think they made a decision that it was not important because it's really
That's-
not
yeah.
a thing in the movie.
That's the fundamental problem with this movie as an Exorcist sequel, though, because there is no solid connection back to that original except for Ellen Burstyn. And because they wrote this in that they decided to go look her up because, she must know about exorcisms because, she sat outside the room for the original. That's the only connection there has. So there's nothing that really makes us feel like the fabric of the original Exorcist either, except for they shoehorned her in here into a part that doesn't fit.
She feels very shoehorned in. And if you're to believe that she's been researching exorcisms, that means there's been lots of other exorcisms. Like she wasn't the
Right.
only expert that they could go to.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you get this whole scene. I mean, sorry, and I realize I'm talking a lot, but you get this whole scene where the church.
Podcast, John.
I know it's fair.
what we do.
Okay, thank you
You're
for your
welcome.
approval.
I'm always happy to validate you, John. I know you don't give me the same in return. It's okay.
No, I definitely don't. There's this whole scene where we're at the church and like one of the priests is trying to make the case that he needs to go as a priest and do this exorcism. So this is also like the one moment where they're trying to bring the Catholicism piece back, but the Catholic Church like wimps out, and so he shows up
Yeah.
and is like, "Sorry guys, can't do it." And it's just again shoehorned. It's like the whole
Like no one's an exorcist that in that room.
no,
Yeah.
none of them are.
no, and
They're all
and this is-
they're all just fucking winging it. The one lady just talked to the priest, and
But
he was
this
like,
is-
"Yeah, I don't know if it goes sideways. Read this thing."
the film feels unmoored from any sort of basis of belief. Like if we're meant to understand or believe that there is like a fundamental spiritual like basis on which this film, like the reality of the film is based, not like whatever, it's not based on reality, but like in the reality of the film, it just, what is that? Like that all religions have the same demon? Like, are we to believe like we're all under one God, or like what? I don't like
No,
the
it's-
coexist
it's
sticker. Like,
nonsensical,
it's
and-
so nonsensical.
Coexist sticker is such a good poll.
I
that's
also
part-
think I also
Go
just
ahead.
think that like this movie misses out on a lot of the things that made the first one creepy and tension filled and scary, at least when you were younger, because like in the first one, you get to see the little girl, Linda Blair, like slowly get sick, right? And have more and more things happen to her. And it starts to slowly erode her body over time as she becomes
Right.
more and more demonic.
It's more subtle. It's not just 0 to
Yeah, here it's
exorcism,
like
yeah.
they're kind of sick and acting strange, and then all of a sudden they have the, fake demon face that also looks really bad, even though this is made 50 years later, which is
It does.
confusing.
It does. Yeah. I mean,
It
and I
looks
didn't-
like when on Angel or Buffy when they did the forehead, for the vampires. It looks like that. But
like you can see the like prosthetic. like,
yes, exactly.
And the raised eyebrows.
There's nothing like to write home about the way they did the voice either, which is such an iconic
No.
part of the last, the first movie.
I think that nobody has enough I don't know, gravitas or something to be in this film, because I don't think the little girl's got enough good lines or could portray
and
the
that's the
demons
thing.
well enough.
The original, everyone in that movie has that.
Yeah, and then
You know
when
what I
they're
mean?
doing
Like-
the exorcism, it's like nobody sounds like they really care that much. Like it doesn't seem like this battle between good and evil, and like if we don't do this, not only is this little girl gonna die, but we're gonna die too. It just feels like this movie has zero stakes. So that when the priest's head gets whipped around Looney Tunes style, you don't give a shit.
Who cares?
You know?
Truly.
Yeah.
Well,
I
he
did
was
like-
also the one who like wimps out,
right.
and then it's like he comes in like, oh,
For
the
30
real,
seconds.
the real exorcist is here.
Of course,
to
she
see.
literally I like that she literally pukes out the demon, because it's so funny. Because up until that point, I was like, I gotta say they're being pretty restrained with the pea soup here. Like, I feel like I'm impressed. And then the whole like there's like 60-second vomit scene at the very end of the movie, but it's all CGI.
Yeah.
It does not have the same impact as just like, God, that stuff in the original, even now, is hard to take.
I would go back to Ariel's point about, how the original movie, we saw Reagan gradually getting sicker and stuff like that. That's a huge gap in this movie, because we see the girls when they're first discovered and then they're in the hospital. And then, like the little white girl, the next scene we see of her is that huge scene in the trailer of her walking down the center of the aisle at the church. It goes from 0 to 50 to 100. And no in between.
You're right. And you know what? That scene confused me a little bit too. I mean, I understood what happened in it, but like the original, to whoever's point this was about it, being blasphemous, and that's part of like the horror of it, right? I think this movie attempted to do this, but they like soft pedaled it weirdly, where it's like they have this little girl kind of maybe masturbating under her skirt in the church. Like it's just so weird when you compare it to like the horror of the original. Like, why is that even included then?
I think it almost gives you a greater appreciation for how like boundary pushing that first film was. Like when because it's hard. I mean, listen, none of us were alive then. Casey was maybe almost alive.
I might have been.
But not alive enough to like be up on exorcist discourse, right? But to like, even just if you're kind of like a student of history, to know where America was in the 70s, like that's fucking crazy that they made that movie and put it out and like it worked. So it is weird in 2023 in a time when there's almost no lines in cinema in some ways. Like to have a movie pull its punches like this is strange.
Yeah, it's odd.
I can happily report I was not alive when The Exorcist came out.
I didn't think so.
I was born the year
78?
after. I was born the year after. It came out in 73.
Oh, it was 72. Damn, Casey. Holy shit, you are old.
No, it came out in 73. I was 74. I came out in 74.
God damn.
You came out in 74, like you made your world debut.
You really are just a Gen Xer, huh, buddy?
You betcha.
Love it. Does anybody else have any other like particular scenes they want to talk about? We have time.
Oh well, okay. So when I made this statement about this movie being bad in like the same ways that the Halloween sequels were bad.
Oh yeah.
Part of it for me was the Dream Team coexist team, because you get all this stuff like Halloween wants to like make all these points about like community and like people getting like riled up, whatever.
Well, it's like here's the thing. He doesn't earn shit. He takes
No.
big swings that he never earns.
No, well, and they borderline don't make sense to begin with. Again, like we're just to believe that all of these different interfaith leaders are going to get on the same page about like how
all
to
work
perform this
together.
exorcism. Like we got our powers combined. Like what?
It's like Captain Planet. There's just so many
Yes.
good. There's so
It's
many.
it's absurd, right?
John,
Like the Exorcism
which-
Avengers.
John, which member of the team is Christian Leitner? That's all I want to know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the priest who came in.
Who
at
got
the, end and
the Who
his
got the
neck.
call up from college?
Yeah.
Opportunity of a lifetime.
I don't know. The local guy who was like non-denominational, like not the one that the white church went to. It was
The guy
like
who
like,
goes to the guy
neighbor
who goes to
friend.
the Unitarian Church. He's Christian
Basically.
Leitner.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah.
Oh God, I love it. All right, listen.
Yeah.
I think
It sounds like there was a lot of feedback, so maybe let's just
Yeah,
cut
we
to
got a
the
lot of
chase.
questions tonight. Would you recommend The Exorcist Believer, Ariel?
No.
Casey,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
No.
I'm also going to say no, and Casey, I'm going to demand a definitive answer from you.
I'll say no.
Okay, love it.
Wow, you know it's
All-
bad when even Casey can't find the good in
I
it.
know.
I know. All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
I mean, the truth is, John, you're the Christian Leitner of BGH only because you look. Well, he went to Duke, right?
He did.
Of course, yeah. Is that your boy?
Yeah, he's fine. I like Christian.
I watched that ESPN documentary about him.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, what an asshole he seems like. But in a way that was like kind of on it. Like he comes by it honestly. So I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool. I just want people to be themselves, John. You know, like
Yeah, no, I would say
tell me
he
who
is
you
being
are.
himself. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about
That's what I'm
that.
saying. We are on Patreon. Oh, John, before we do that, I'm sure you've listened to my new track.
I actually haven't opened Spotify in a little while, just to be clear.
What
but
do you listen to music?
Not a lot anymore, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have like a ton of free time, unfortunately, and I
Yeah.
can't listen at work. I don't have like a job where I can like listen to music anymore. That's problematic. So
Oh, that's lame.
yeah.
You're not doing it right.
I'm just gonna open up Spotify right now, hit play with the volume down, and then that way get you some spins.
Anyway, I have a new song out. I put it on Friday the 13th. It within like 2 days became my most listened to song, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. It's called Dream Within a Dream. You can search Hi-Fi HY-FY. I'm on Apple now too, and like pretty much anywhere you can find music. You just got to get that dash in there, or you get something else that's not me.
Not you.
Also, you can just follow me on Instagram, Eric BGH. I'm always linking to it, and that's probably the best place to take a look. Exciting times. I got a tattoo on Friday the 13th, John.
Oh
what
yes, yeah. You got to show Ariel.
Um,
Casey and I have seen it.
It's on my leg. I can't really show. I mean, like,
No, get it up there. Get it in. Get it up there.
High
It's
kick,
like-
Eric.
I
Come
was-
on.
I guess I would call it like a ghost wolf. Like
Yes.
it's like kind of a
Ooh.
funny mashup of like a ghost and a wolf.
Okay. Very
And-
cool.
It was like a Friday the 13th, like
Special.
yeah, where like okay, here's the designs. You have 5 minutes to like choose and then go, which is not like me. Like that, there's a level of letting go in that I was
Yeah.
like I aspire to, and I've wanted to do that for a long time.
I'm
so here we
impressed.
are. Thank you. I'm now firmly in the itching phase
Oh no.
of the healing.
So you're just like slapping your leg all day?
oof, yeah, but yeah.
Can you not
Um,
scratch them? Are you not supposed to scratch?
You're not
No,
supposed
I'm
to.
also doing a dry heal, which is where they put a adhesive bandage that fully like seals it in, basically for like you can do it like up to a week. So it's kind of itching underneath this thing, and like the farthest I'll go is like I'll just like lightly pat it and just hope that somehow takes the itching away. Like, you don't want to be actually digging at it; that would be bad and it
Yeah.
would hurt.
That's how you get scars.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, we are on Patreon, John. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can get early release of the show. You can watch the live stream of the show. You can get our pre-show. All kinds of exciting stuff. So check that out. We got one email this week, info@bloodygoodhorror.com. John, this is from our good friend, Caitlin and Kissimmee. I love this email. She, as you know, has been revisiting the BGH catalog. We're what, 730 or something now, or pretty close episodes. And she put together two classics that in back-to-back episodes were both about, let's say, a bodily function. All right, episode 346. So in 346, we reviewed The Visit. Of course, the found footage film from M. Night Shyamalan with the fake grandparents that end up like torturing their like fake not grandkids. And I apparently said, the poop noises were like, come on, I mean, incontinence is funny. And then next episode 347, The Green Inferno, I was like, you guys really thought, and I want this stated for the record, that the diarrhea noises while she was sick were funny. So I was apparently calling you guys out. So yeah, I guess it depends on the context.
They're always funny, no?
Yeah.
The Visit. You mentioned The Visit, and I just got a picture in my head of that diaper scene.
I haven't watched that in a while. That's a good one though. That scene where she's like under the house,
and it's just full of diapers,
chasing them around. Yeah. No. When she's like in the little maze under the kind of like crawl space,
that
and the
part is
old
creepy.
grandmother's like stalking her. Although it doesn't really make sense because she's moving. Like, how could she move like that? But still,
movie magic.
That's it for emails, Casey. What do we got on? Oh, you won't do X, right? You're taking a stand. You're on Threads now.
Yes, I'm on Threads. We do have 3 threads out there this week. The first one comes from the drummer from Foghat. If Brock Lesnar got possessed by the devil, would he end all life on Earth?
I mean, it
Is
wouldn't
that
go great.
wrestler guy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Best reaction ever.
The devil would win. The devil wins that one. Like
it wouldn't go great for
Earth.
people in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Brock Lesnar joke's like older than you guys as kids.
I mean, at this point, yes. Dude, yeah, significantly so. At this point, we're literally just making sure that the show is completely inaccessible to new listeners because 13-year-old jokes and laughing about it and not giving any context. Yeah. So nailing it. Mm-hmm. I'm too old to change at this point. Let's be real.
Next up, we got the Jody Webster. Most reviews I've heard for this say it's not very good. Halloween 2018 was good, Kills was fine, and Ends was trash. If DGG's first movie in this new trilogy is bad, how terrible will the third one be?
Oh boy.
Well, did we say this last week, John, that there was this story that came out that was like, he's not being fired, but he might be too busy to do the other.
Well, you mentioned that. There was no
too
citation
busy.
for it. Yeah.
I've seen that on social media. I feel like that would be a good idea. Like,
This is on. You know what this is?
in the spot.
This is the horror version of when those dudes Dan and Dave from Game of Thrones fumbled that so bad that they like got
They
fired
lost
from
all
every
of their
job they'd
jobs.
been. Like they got fired from Star Wars.
Yup.
This is like it's not the same scale because those dudes lost Star Wars, but like
Yeah.
it's pretty close.
I think one of his friends just needs to take him aside and say, buddy, you should go back to comedies for a while.
And take Danny
man.
McBride with you.
All right, last up we have from @Callernaut. What's your favorite possession-themed movie, not counting the OG Exorcist?
Sorry, it's The Last Exorcism.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
It's
pretty good.
so good.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose is fun too.
Yeah.
That was the other one I was thinking of.
Does Autopsy of Jane Doe count? I was thinking about that movie the other week. That's sort of like a
It's kind of.
Maybe?
Yeah.
possession-y.
Yeah. And the
I'd
Pope's
have to, like-
Exorcist. I love that.
I mean, the Pope's Exorcist was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're gonna make like 3 more of them, I think.
Wait, that's a joke you're making, or are they really?
No,
doing it?
it's
I
not
mean,
a
don't you
joke.
remember
They're
they
literally gonna make
hardcore
a bunch more.
They hardcore set sequels up at the end of that movie. They were
Yeah,
like,
because
totally. No, I mean,
the real dude like wrote a bunch of books or something.
Yeah, he
so-
did. He
Yeah.
did. I remember. I did research that. There's probably others that I have liked that I would have to No, I actually was thinking about this while watching this movie. The Conjuring basically
yeah, of
ends
course.
with an exorcism. The Conjuring 1. It's not explicitly an exorcism film.
It's a
But
similar idea.
Well,
Yeah.
the end of the movie is an exorcism.
All of
Yeah.
those Insidious and Conjuring movies, they kind of are all Exorcist adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the wards and the power of Christ that compels them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait, I have a question for you guys about this movie.
Please.
So I am
No,
not a
we're
parent,
done. No, I'm
but all
kidding.
three of you are. So my question is, like, when I saw that scene in the beginning and the dads asked, like, who do you pick to save? My instinct was like, pick the person who's a person, not the one that doesn't exist yet. But like, what do you, as parents?
So here's where my brain went. It's so hard. I did actually go
Yeah.
through it. Like,
Yeah.
yes, first instinct is save your wife or whatever. But then I was like, what if she's so heartbroken that you had chose her over the baby? That like that creates. I mean, that's a what if. Like,
Yeah.
No.
You can
I think
make a
it's
new one,
unambiguous
right?
that you pick the wife. Like that. Like at
Yeah.
least in my opinion.
Because they
not-
make it seem like it's this horrible decision he made, that he's like a terrible person because he chose the
did you
wife.
think interesting? Yeah, I didn't. I
You
guess I
can't
didn't
really
think that
fault
way,
him either way.
Yeah,
It
totally.
doesn't make him a bad guy.
You knew for the purposes of the movie too what he was going to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
right.
it's I kind of took the tension out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, because it would have looked weird to have his
He-
wife and the neighbor girl.
Here's what
possessed
I'll say:
together.
like parenting stuff in movies with me is so hit or miss, and so much of it just is random sometimes based on my mood. Like sometimes I'm watching some kind of heartstringy parent thing in a movie, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm like rolling my eyes, whatever. And you just catch me in the right mood someday, and I'm just like choking up. It's one of the dumbest shit. It's just variable. I feel
This
like.
one was really contrived, is the thing, right?
I
Like,
agree.
Yeah.
You didn't need the earthquake. I mean,
So
you really didn't even need
heartstringy
them
and a
being
very
in
like
Haiti necessarily.
yeah.
I mean, using a
Yeah.
real tragedy for the start of your like dumb exorcism movie is a little odd too.
Yeah. Agreed.
Oh right. Yeah, I didn't even make that connection. That of course that's like the earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Haiti's like.
I
still
thought that
not
scene was.
recovered from that
I thought that
earthquake.
scene was pretty good.
I mean,
it
it's
was, like,
filmed
fun.
better than a lot of the rest of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was probably like a second unit director working on that one. So
I mean, let's not forget
You're like
he
not
did
going to give
direct.
him any credit at all.
Let's not forget he did direct that one scene in Halloween Kills where Michael Myers just like destroys 10 firefighters with fire
That's true.
blazing
That's a good
everywhere.
scene.
Like I might just forever forgive him because of that scene.
I mean, I did like the 2018 one. They just
Yeah.
made me more disappointed for the rest.
Is that it, Casey?
Yes, that is it.
While you were doing that, I should have been pulling Twitter up, but I was not. So let's do
but didn't.
Oops.
that. Let me talk slow, and I'll do that now. All right. We have one. That's been about. Oh no, we have two. Oh, this is a really good one. Okay, this is from Sergio. John.
Okay.
If you were
Sergio.
forced to live with one possession symptom for the rest of your life, and this is multiple choice.
Oh,
so,
geez.
So stand by. Would you choose the power to A, pee your pants at parties, B, projectile vomit uncontrollably at random times, C, randomly backbend like a circus act, or this is my favorite, D, piety tinged sexy talk to people.
Oh, that's a funny one. I would do backbend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
obviously
least off-putting, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd go for piety tinged sexy talk.
I really just wanted to find out if John's into dirty talk. That's really the only reason that I wanted to ask this question.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. Yeah. Is that a thumbs up? from John?
No, I mean I could live with that one too if I had to. I guess.
I don't
Never
know. There
put
might
yes
be some
and
like
with that,
sexual
John.
harassment lawsuits in your future if you choose that one.
The next film, by the way, is The Exorcist Deceiver.
Okay. Does it say if like Linda Blair is going to be in
I
that
assure
one.
you that they're hardcore going back to the drawing board for whatever script they had after this one.
It says he's in pre-production on it, so yeah, maybe he gets
Oh,
yanked.
jeez.
So what's the fourth movie going to be? It's going to be Exorcist Believer, Exorcist Deceiver, and Exorcist.
No, but I heard that they're
Receiver.
only making that they're doing some like Fugazi trilogy where they're going to make 2 movies and call it a trilogy with the first one. That's what I heard.
No. There's definitely 2 more films. There's like the Wikipedia page mentions they might go direct to Peacock, or they would be Peacock exclusive after the theatrical window.
So does Leslie Odom Jr. stay? Like, what's the connective tissue? Is the
Who
question.
fucking knows? I'm guessing Ann Down. That's my guess. The other thing that is currently
The
on
least
David
involved character in the movie, really.
Well, she's like the person who sort of solves it in the end, but
Who was Phil Jackson's assistant coach?
I'd have to look that up.
It was the Pistons guy, right? Or did he coach the next team?
Currently
Bailey.
listed as in development on David Gordon Green's IMDb page, Hellraiser.
Bummer. Wait, what?
Oh God,
Yeah.
no.
Like a
Yeah.
sequel to that one that came out?
It just says Hellraiser. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a reboot. Maybe it. I don't know. Like, I can click on. Oh, it's TV series Hellraiser. He's in development.
Okay, good. Okay, I guess that's fine. John, to edify my brain,
Yes.
the 2 assistant coaches in the Dream Team were Mike Krzyzewski. I didn't realize. I forgot that. And Lenny Wilkins. That actually does not ring a bell to me.
I mean, he was another college coach. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not. I'd have to.
Let's
look.
see. He was a player, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Anyway. Good old Mike Krzyzewski. Okay. Last question on X, Twitter, fucking whatever. From Lord Zombie. At what point do you think Hollywood will learn to stop with the remakes of old classics?
They're not going
Never.
to.
They never.
Did
They
this
have too
movie
much
do
money.
well? I didn't even see if it did well.
So it did pretty well. So it's listed as 30 million budget, and it has made about 90 worldwide. The
It hasn't
thing,
been out
and
that long, right?
it's been out 2 weeks, I think. The thing worth mentioning, and we've talked about this before, Blumhouse talked Universal into paying $400 million for the rights. So they basically had to go. They paid $400 million before they even had the ability to go and make the movie. So
Right.
you've got
So
that as like
you're in deep.
Yeah, they're in super deep, and that's why they're going to have to make 3 of them. Well, this one did
Yeah.
enough. The problem is this
Not
one's
on that budget. I mean, if you count that as part of the budget, that's crazy
Well,
to recoup
yeah, I
your
mean,
money. I mean, it's not a Marvel.
It gets
movie.
complicated, yeah. But the look, like they at a $30 million budget. The problem they now have is this was not well reviewed. Like it did poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has some stink on it. So like the next one, it's not like people are going to be.
You got to
like,
knock it
really
out of the
excited
park,
about
or
it.
just don't even come back. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
You got to change it up a little.
I meant to look because the other.
And listen,
big
and the
thing-
audience for this has already been disappointed by the 2 Halloween. Like, you're really asking, not that everybody is plugged into the scene enough to know that it's like the same people potentially, but like the audience is tired, and by the audience I mean myself.
Agreed.
I was gonna look. So
Hurt me
this-
once, John, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, this was number 1. Obviously, the weekend it came out, or its first weekend. I wanted to see because the other big tell is always how big a drop it does from week 1.
Was this
to
the one that
two.
got moved because of the Taylor Swift thing? Is this the one that got bumped or moved up or something?
It got moved up, I think, because it did
Yeah,
dodge
yeah.
Taylor Swift. It dropped 60% in week 2, which is like
Yikes.
pretty bad.
Yeah. It's
But
not
it
good.
also was Taylor Swift weekend, so I guess
Can't stop her, John.
I mean, it's like if you're a horror movie and you're not making it work in October, it's bad.
Yeah.
So
I guess we're all waiting for Five Nights at Freddy's to come and save us.
Yeah.
let's go.
True.
Let's
the
go.
preview looked cool.
St.
It really-
Matthew Lillard.
It
Yeah,
really looks.
Nate.
It really looks fun. I'm like really hoping that they nail it because like it
Me
could be
too.
really fun.
Well, I'm excited that they hired the Jim Henson Company to do all of the characters and
They
as opposed
did?
to so
Yeah.
it's not CGI. They're like real. You know.
That's
just
cool.
Ariel, you just gave me chills.
Right? That's what I felt when I read it too.
Legitimately, I'm like, ooh, goosebumps! Like that's exciting. Oh man, we were just talking about The Exorcist and how like all that practical stuff from '72 is like so much more impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta stick with
Wasn't it the
practical
Nick Cage
people.
one? Is there bad CGI or bad costumes or something? Aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, that Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's really exciting. Thank you, Ariel. I'm excited. All right. Did you see Saw X, Ariel?
I haven't yet. No. I honestly have
Just-
only ever seen the first 2 Saw movies. I have a thing with like flashing lights.
There's
it
a
gives
lot
me
of that,
migraines,
yeah.
and so I watched like half of the third movie and was like, no, never mind.
No.
Oh, I did
That's
see
like-
Spiral. I watched that one.
Hell of a one to jump back in on.
You're a Chris Rock completist.
I don't know. Somebody told me it was a detective story, and I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Did you see I can't remember. Were you on the show where we did Haunting in Venice?
No, I haven't
Do you
seen
like-
that one yet, but I've read the
Are you
book,
into
so
those those modern
Yes.
kind of Poirot things? They're fun.
I will watch anything Agatha Christie related.
Yeah.
I read like most of her books, so
I love it. I've read some of those books, John, in school.
All right. Eric.
And by school I mean middle school.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they're pretty
No
simplistic.
big deal. I already answered this, but better film, Halloween Ends or this?
Oh boy.
I find the way you found this movie offensive, John, I find Halloween Ends offensive, and this was just kind of like, all right.
I mean, this movie didn't have anything where they were like crowd surfing Michael Myers, so I feel like that's
You mean when
why-
You mean when they gave Michael Myers a New Orleans funeral and then threw him
Yeah.
into a thresher?
Yes.
When everyone in the town was on some kind of like list serve somehow to
Just
all
show
gather in the
up.
same exact spot
Right.
to lift him up. Yes, that was pretty cool. Oh, good lord. Make or break for me. Did anyone at any point chant Pazuzu dies tonight? No. John, you
Unfortunately,
didn't give
no.
me an answer, by the way. Which is worse?
No. Halloween Ends is worse. If like gun to my head, I would watch this.
I'll accept
again
either
before
answer. I
watch
just I
Halloween
wanted you
Ends.
to commit.
I'm gonna go with this as worse because I didn't hate Halloween Ends as much as you guys did.
Yeah. I mean, that opening like staircase death in Halloween Ends is pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's the only part I really remember liking.
Yeah. Chris says, "What's a religion or culture you'd like to see an exorcism movie be made about?" Listen, they did them all in this movie, so they claimed them all like that. I mean, I immediately think of Serpent in the Rainbow. It's a different kind of thing, but like that's about they're turning people into zombies. They're kind of like possessing them.
Right.
And maybe it's a stretch, but I think that's set in Haiti, isn't it?
I haven't seen that in a while.
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I think, but
No, I don't have enough Bill Pullman in my life. No. It's pretty handsome.
I think a Hindu exorcism movie could be interesting.
Isn't that Other Side of the Door?
that's So I was thinking about that
Loosely.
too. It's
They're not Hindu, right? They're like Westerners, but it's like
It's
that's
not
the, like-
possession though. Isn't that more like
That's
There's
more
a
of a
door
haunting.
and-
the
Right?
kid
Yeah,
is
it's
dead,
exactly-
right? And
yeah,
communicating
yeah,
with them, right? And
correct.
it's like other
Yeah.
spirits trying to get it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a religion we don't see a lot in pop culture over here, which I know they do a lot with Bollywood films and stuff. So I'd be curious to see what could be done with that.
It's got to exist. They've made there's so many movies. There's like so many
Yeah.
Oh,
Bollywood
for sure.
movies. So something probably exists. So
What's the next horror franchise David Gordon Green will do?
well,
Apparently, it's an
Hellraiser, apparently.
Exorcist
Sounds
or
like Hellraiser,
yeah,
yeah.
Hellraiser TV show.
Is he doing Hellraiser?
We were just talking about that. Bro. Where you at?
I mean, I liked
don't
the
know.
newer one. I thought it was pretty fun. It's not great, but I thought it was fun. And the first movie I love, but I feel like there's a lot of bad ones in between, so I don't know if I would be as mad about,
Yeah.
you know.
I enjoyed. We were just talking about the new one last week with Rachel. Like I enjoyed it. but they're a little too like, what did we say last week, John? They're too thirsty, the Cenobites. Like they're not aloof like the original Cenobites. And that kind of
They're not
bothered
as
me.
cold
They're
and
too like,
aloof. I get that.
like Frankenstein-y, like I'm gonna get you.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
I can see that.
I like nonplussed Pinhead, who just doesn't really give a shit. He just wants a soul. He doesn't really care whose it is. All right, last question of the evening. I like this, John. Who kills a franchise better, Rob Zombie or David Gordon Green?
Oh,
Oh boy.
I mean, listen, Green got 3 movies.
I would
That's
say,
true.
yeah, I'd say Rob Zombie.
Zombie only got 2.
yeah.
I'm
And I don't
like
see any
almost
monster.
ready to.
I don't see any
almost ready-
monster sequels being greenlit anytime soon. So
I'm almost ready to go rewatch those Halloween movies just to kind of gut check.
They
I don't
would
think
be
I've seen
fun,
them since
just-
they came out.
just because of how much we've complained about them over the years, those would be fun, like live streams.
Yeah.
Oh, you
To
guys
watch
should do
those with
that.
people.
Yeah, and then we have that awkward moment when the live stream at the end where we're all like, I think I like it better now.
I know you're
Yeah.
old, John, and you know you're not into the live streams these days, but would be fun.
We'll see. I mean, I'm
Sounds
old.
like
We're all old.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Ariel, when you are not here, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Zombie Girls. That's GRRLZ. You can look for our network wherever you get your podcasts or zombiegirls.com. We're also at ZG Podcasts on X, Instagram. I just forgot the name of all the social networks, and Threads. And our podcast, More Deadly, Rachel and I do that one together where we talk to women identified horror directors and review their movies. And we just recently interviewed the director of Totally Killer, which is really fun if you guys haven't seen it.
It's on our list.
Okay, good. And Appendage, too, which is
I haven't
a
heard of that
Hulu one. Yeah.
Yeah, we asked. We were asking Rachel to give us like what are the Zombie Girls picks this time of year, and then we sort of like So we have. So what are we doing next week, guys?
VHS 95.
Yes, as I did vet it.
85, I thought.
85. I couldn't remember the year.
I would
sorry.
like the record to reflect when I say I vetted it. I watched the first segment and was like, yeah, okay. So like, don't come at me, John, if you don't. Like it.
Dude, you can say that all you want, but
I expect nothing less. It's fine.
yeah.
Yeah, VHS, and then is 5 nights in the week after that.
Yes,
It
it
comes out on
is.
the 27th.
Man, and you get that nice Halloween where it's like a Tuesday, so you can actually like really have that weekend before be like nice. It's not like coming out November 1st or some BS, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Pretty excited. about
Have
that.
you
And
guys
then
picked
after
your
5
costumes?
nights, I was going to say after 5 nights, we're going to be doing Totally Killer too. So
Yeah. I'm not costuming. I'm not a big costume guy, John. I mean, you know, I own a lot of horror stuff, so I'll just wear that.
yeah,
But my oldest is going to be Wednesday Addams, which I'm pretty
Oh,
excited about. Yeah,
nice.
she loves making the face.
That's awesome.
oh nice.
I have a Gryffindor wizard. Was going to be Hermione, but now wants to be her own wizard. My oldest
Originality, I like it.
my oldest just bought out of a box the Minecraft character costume,
Love it.
which whatever. And then the youngest is going to be. She has like a gazillion princess. She wears a princess costume every night before she has to put her pajamas on, and she's just like wearing her favorite one of those.
It's adorable.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
Very cute.
My daughters just wore them as nightgowns for like years.
they're not like at least the ones we ever would not be comfortable to sleep in.
I mean, they make sort of nightgowny versions.
Yeah.
So what are you dressing up as?
I haven't made a final call one way or the other. I'm gonna have to go out trick or treating, so it's sort of like I'll have to put something on one way or the other, but we'll see.
Well,
I'm not dressing up this year. Casey's been kind of beat up this year, so he's not into feeling up to chasing kids.
Casey, I gotta send you pictures.
Get you like some of the neck bolts and just
Oh yeah,
I gotta send you pictures of my neighbor's house, Casey. They go hard. Like
nice.
Oh, I love
it's a
that.
whole like menagerie out there. It's insane.
Nice.
good times.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for Bloody Good Horror this week. Next week, VHS 85. Get excited. It is spooky season. This is our time, John.
It's our
This is our
time.
time. That's
Our
right.
time.
Hope you enjoy the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.